When a team leader burns out, the question should not only be, what happened to that person? It should also be, what is this telling us about the system around them? Because burnout's not always an individual problem. Sometimes it's information. Information about workload, information about unclear decision pathways, information about emotional load, information about missing buffers, information about pressure being absorbed privately instead of processed safely, information about teams relying too heavily on one person's memory, their judgment, their availability, and their nervous system. Doesn't mean the team leader's failed. It means something in the system may be too thin, too reactive, or too dependent on individual endurance. In child protection, we can't afford to ignore that information. Team leaders often sit in a pressure point role. They're close to the front line. They understand the children, young people, families, carers, staff, risks, relationships, complexity. But they're also responsible for decisions, escalation, communication, compliance, staff support, quality, stakeholder relationships, and keeping the team moving. They're often translating pressure from above and absorbing pressure from below, and that's a lot to hold. When the rhythm around that role is strong, team leaders can lead. When the rhythm around that role is weak, team leaders become the rhythm. Their calendar becomes the access point. Their memory becomes the tracking system. Their judgment becomes the decision pathway. Their body becomes the debrief space. Their capacity becomes the buffer. And that might work for a while, especially if the team leader is capable, but man, is it fragile. Because one person was never meant to be the system. And when a team leader burns out, it might be telling us that too much has been landing on one role for too long. It might be telling us that staff don't have clear places to bring questions, uncertainty, emotional load, or decisions. It might be telling us that escalation pathways are unclear, or that everything escalates too late. It might be telling us that meetings are not catching the real issues early enough. It might be telling us that the leader's calendar has no protected space for thinking, for follow-up, or recovery after hard conversations. It might be telling us that debriefs are completely missing. It might be telling us that the system has normalized crisis response instead of building earlier rhythms for noticing drift. It might be telling us that senior leaders only see the problem once the team leader's already gone, and that's the danger. If we only treat burnout as a personal well-being issue, we miss the system signal. And then we risk replacing one exhausted leader with another leader who steps into the same unsupported rhythm. The individual lens is too small. And I want to be careful because individual well-being matters. A leader's health, their boundaries, their support, their sleep, their recovery, their stress levels, and their personal circumstances, they all matter. Of course they do. But if we only look through the individual lens, the solution becomes too small. We tell leaders to be more resilient. We encourage them to take leave. We offer self-care. We send them to training. We tell them to speak up earlier. And some of that may help, but it doesn't answer the deeper question. What is the work asking of them every week? If the role requires a leader to be endlessly available, emotionally absorbent, constantly reactive, and personally responsible for every loose end, then the issue is not just resilience. The issue is design. You can give someone all the well-being advice in the world, but if they return to a week with no rhythm, no buffers, unclear access, delayed decisions, and constant pressure, the same pattern's just going to come back. Maybe not immediately, but it will reappear. And this is why I think rhythm is such a useful lens. Rhythm lets us look at how the work is actually being held. Not just what the policy says, not just what the org chart says, Not just what the meeting structure says on paper, but what happens on a Tuesday afternoon when a staff member's unsure, a carer is frustrated, a young person's escalating, a school issue is unresolved, and the leader has already been interrupted 8 times. Where does that pressure go? Who holds it? How does it get sorted? Where are decisions made? What waits too long? What keeps coming back? Who's carrying the emotional residue? And if the answer is always, the team leader, then the system is too dependent on that person. And dependency like that creates risk for the leader themselves, for the team, and potentially for the children and young people relying on that team to remain steady. For decision makers, burnout should trigger better questions. Not blame questions, not defensive questions, but better questions. What keeps landing on this team leader that should have a clearer home somewhere else? Where are staff going straight to the leader because the pathways are unclear? Which decisions are delayed because ownership is fuzzy? Which meetings are not catching issues early enough? Where do debriefs need to happen but currently don't? Where does the leader need protected time but the calendar keeps getting raided? What pressure's being carried privately? What happens to children, to carers, to staff, to stakeholders when the leader's absent? What does the team rely on this person to remember, to notice, to absorb, or to fix? Again, these questions aren't comfortable, but they are useful because they help move the conversation from this person is struggling to what is the system asking them to carry. That's a much better place to start. One of the hardest things in child protection is that people can become used to levels of pressure that should not feel normal. A leader can be overloaded for a long time and still appear functional. They keep turning up. They keep making decisions. They keep answering messages. They keep absorbing emotion. They keep staying late. They keep making it work. So the system reads that as capacity. But functioning is not the same as stability. Sometimes functioning just means a person has a high tolerance for overload. And that can be dangerous because by the time the system recognizes the risk, the person may already be at the point of absence, resignation, or collapse. So we need to stop using still functioning as evidence that the rhythm is working. It may simply mean that the cost hasn't surfaced yet. A better approach is to treat burnout signals as early warning signs. When a leader says, everything is landing on me, listen. When they say, I can't get the actual leadership work done, listen. When they say, I'm constantly interrupted, listen. When they say, I'm tired but wired, listen. When they say, the team needs me for every decision, listen. When they say, I can't switch off, listen. Those statements aren't just personal distress. They may be describing missing rhythm. They may be describing system dependence. They may be describing risk. Not risk in the dramatic kid at risk sense, but risk in the subtle, accumulative sense. The kind that shows up later as missed follow-up, as staff turnover, as delayed decisions, as placement instability, as poor communication, as children experiencing yet another layer of uncertainty. And that's why we need to respond earlier. So support doesn't have to start with a massive restructure. Often it starts with simple, practical rhythms. Daily anchors so leaders can begin the day with clarity before the day starts pulling them apart. Weekly resets so pressure points are named before they become Friday crises. Clear buffers so leaders have protected space to think, to document, to follow up, and to recover after hard conversations. Decision pathways so that every uncertainty doesn't come straight to the leader. Debrief rhythms so that emotional load doesn't live in one person's body. Escalation clarity, so staff know what comes now, what waits, and what needs a different pathway. And these aren't soft practices, they're stabilizing practices. They help the team know where things go. They help leaders stop becoming the only place where everything lands. And over time, they reduce the system's dependence on individual endurance. So the hopeful part is that burnout doesn't have to be the first time we pay attention. We can notice the signals much earlier. We can get curious earlier. We can build support earlier. We can ask, what rhythm is missing before the leader disappears? We can strengthen the role before the role breaks the person. And that matters because when team leaders are supported, teams have a better chance of staying steady. And when teams stay steady, children and young people have a better chance of experiencing continuity, follow through, and reliable care. Supporting team leaders is not only about caring for the workforce, it's about protecting the stability around children. So when a team leader burns out, yes, we should care about the person deeply. We should also ask what their burnout is telling us. What was too dependent on them? What had no rhythm? What pressure had nowhere to go? What decisions were too unclear? What support arrived too late? Because burnout is information. And if we're willing to listen to it early enough, it can help us build systems that are steadier, safer, and less dependent on good people pushing past their limits. If you want to see how we help team leaders build those rhythms inside the Leadership Lab, details are in the description.